Have you ever felt a profound sense of loneliness while standing in the middle of a crowded room, specifically the living room of your childhood home? You had food on the table, clothes on your back, and perhaps even a stable environment. But when you look back, it feels like you were raised in an emotional desert. If you find yourself constantly craving intimacy while simultaneously pushing it away, or if you feel like a burden whenever you have a problem, you might have been raised by avoidant parents. Today, we're diving deep into the psychology of avoidant parenting, the silent wounds it leaves behind, and how you can finally start to heal. Stick around, because understanding this dynamic is often the first step to breaking a cycle that may have started generations before you were even born. To understand avoidant parents, we first have to look at attachment theory. Developed by psychologists John Bowlby and Mary Ainsworth, this theory suggests that the way our primary caregivers respond to us in infancy creates a blueprint for every relationship we'll ever have. A secure parent is like a lighthouse. They provide a steady, warm light that says, "I see you, I hear you, and you are safe." But an avoidant parent? They are more like a mirror. They reflect back only what they find comfortable, and when things get emotionally messy, when you cry, when you're scared, or even when you're too excited, they tend to turn away. They don't necessarily mean to be cruel. In fact, many avoidant parents truly believe they are doing a great job because they're providing for your physical needs. They focus on the logistics of parenting, the grades, the sports, the meals. But the heart of parenting, the emotional attunement, is missing. So what does an avoidant parent actually look like in daily life? It's often very subtle. It's the father who goes to every one of your baseball games but never asks how you're feeling after a loss. It's the mother who tells you to stop crying, or I'll give you something to cry about, or simply says, "Go to your room and come back when you're in a better mood." The underlying message is loud and clear: your big emotions are inconvenient. They are too much. In these households, vulnerability is treated like a weakness. You might remember a parent who stiffened up when you tried to hug them, or someone who used humor and sarcasm to deflect whenever a conversation got too deep. They aren't just avoiding your emotions, they are avoiding their own. Usually they were raised by avoidant parents themselves, taught that self-reliance is the only way to survive. They've spent their lives building a suit of armor, and they don't know how to take it off, not even for their own children. This environment forces a child to make a heartbreaking choice. Since a child's survival depends on the parent, they learn to adapt. If showing emotion leads to rejection or a shut door, the child learns to suppress those emotions to keep the connection alive. Psychologists call this a deactivating strategy. You learn to stop asking for help. You learn to solve your own problems. You become what we call hyper-independent. On the outside, you look like a high achiever, the kid who never causes trouble and always has it together, but on the inside there's a core wound. You start to feel like you are defective because the person who was supposed to love you most didn't seem interested in the real you. This is where the performance trap begins. You start to believe that you are only worthy of love when you are accomplishing something. If you aren't winning, if you aren't perfect, you fear you'll be invisible. As these children grow into adults, the impact of avoidant parenting follows them into their romantic lives. If you have a dismissive avoidant attachment style, you might find yourself pulling away as soon as a partner gets too close. You might value your freedom above all else, seeing intimacy as a cage. Or, ironically, you might develop an anxious attachment style, constantly chasing emotionally unavailable partners because their distance feels familiar. It feels like home. There's also a growing trend in psychological research showing that many adults raised by avoidant parents are choosing to be child-free. Not because they don't like kids, but because they fear they lack the emotional tools to be different from their parents, or they simply value the autonomy they were never allowed to have while managing their parents' silent expectations. Of the most painful parts of this dynamic is parentification. This happens when an avoidant parent is so emotionally fragile but the child ends up taking care of the parent. Maybe you were the one who had to cheer up your mum after a bad day, or the one who had to stay quiet so your dad wouldn't get stressed. You became an emotional caretaker before you even knew how to take care of yourself. This leads to a life of chronic overgiving. You become a people pleaser, a fixer, a therapist for all your friends, yet you feel completely unable to receive care when it's your turn to need it. You've been trained to believe that your value lies in what you can do for others, not in who you are. If this sounds like your life story, please know that it is not your fault. You weren't too much. You were a child with normal needs that were met by someone who didn't have the capacity to handle them. So, how do we start to heal? The first step is acknowledging the invisible neglect. It's hard to heal from something that didn't happen. The missing hugs, the unasked questions, the silence. You have to give yourself permission to grieve the childhood you didn't have, even if your parents did their best. Their best simply wasn't enough for your emotional development, and that is a valid thing to be sad about. Next comes reparenting. This is the process of becoming the lighthouse for your own inner child. When you feel that familiar urge to shut down or the shame that comes with a mistake, try to pause. Ask yourself, what did I need to hear when I was 7 years old? Maybe it was, it's okay to be sad, or you don't have to do this all here by yourself. By offering yourself that validation now, you are literally rewiring your brain's attachment system. You are teaching your nervous system that vulnerability is not a death sentence. It's the gateway to true connection. Boundaries are also crucial. When dealing with avoidant parents as an adult, you have to accept them for who they are without letting their limitations define your worth. You might need to lower your expectations. If you go to an avoidant parent looking for deep emotional validation, you might leave feeling emptier than before. Instead, find that validation in therapy, in secure friendships, or within yourself. You can love them from a distance that keeps your own peace intact. You don't have to set yourself on fire to keep them warm, especially when they aren't even acknowledging the cold. Finally, practice approach-oriented behavior. This means consciously moving toward your feelings instead of running away from them. Start small. Identify one emotion a day. Is it frustration? Is it joy? Is it loneliness? Name it. Feel where it sits in your body. By staying with the feeling instead of deactivating, you are breaking the generational chain of avoidance. You are choosing to be present, which is the greatest gift you can give to yourself and any future family you might have. Healing from avoidant parenting is a long journey, and it's okay if you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. You are unlearning a survival strategy that kept you safe for years. Be patient with yourself. You are worthy of a love that stays, a love that listens, and a love that doesn't walk away when things get hard. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Which sign did you recognize most? Sharing your story can help someone else realize they aren't alone in the desert. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the psychology of healing. You've spent a lifetime being strong for everyone else. It's okay to finally be soft for yourself. I'll see you in the next video.